The alien Milkkeeper wanted help, but the human she hired changed everything. The courier skiff fell out of warp with a scream. It skipped across the upper air like a stone, then tore a black line through a violet sky. Fire trailed behind it. Metal peeled away in bright flakes. The craft hit a field of tall, purple grass and slid until the nose dug into soil and stopped with a hard groan. Silence. Only the grass whispered. A broken canopy popped. Jace Rowan pulled himself out. He dropped to one knee and breathed the strange air. It tasted clean and a little sweet, like rain over hot rock. His beacon lay crushed in the wreck. His shirt was ripped along the ribs. A thin cut marked his cheek. He stood and looked around. The horizon was wide and empty. Waves of amethyst grass moved in the wind. Far away, huge domes shone like bubbles. 3 pale moons hung low in the sky, one on top of the other, like coins stacked by a giant hand. Jace rubbed his eyes. He had seen many worlds, but not one like this. No road, no tower, no city lights, only grass, only sky. He checked the skiff again. The power core was cracked. The antenna was a twisted knot. No signal, no chance of takeoff. Great, he muttered. Perfect delivery service. He kicked a loose panel and winced. That hurt more than it helped. A steady hum came from the nearest dome. It was not wind. It was alive, like low music. Curiosity tugged at him. He followed a narrow path pressed into the grass and reached a wall of clear bioglass. Through it, he saw shapes move. At first he thought they were machines. Then the light shifted. Car-sized beetles glowed with oil-slick colors, every shell like a shifting rainbow. They breathed slow. They hummed together, and the sound made the hairs on his arms rise. "What are you?" he whispered. "Step away from my hive." The voice was behind him. Calm. Firm. Jace turned slowly and raised both hands. She stood in the grass with a long staff in one hand. Lurisorol. Tall. Blue skin the color of cold water. White speckles across her cheeks and neck, like a map of stars. Silver hair tied back for work. Her clothes were practical, close to the body, the color of sand. Her eyes were large and bright. They watched him with care. "I crashed," Jace said. "No harm meant. I'm not here to steal." Lura looked past him at the wreck, then back at his empty hands, at the torn shirt, at the cut. Her speckles dimmed, then steadied. "You are human," she said at last. "That is rare out here." "Jace Rowan," he said. "Courier. Ex-military mechanic. Out of luck traveler." He tried to smile. It came out tired. She lowered the staff a little. "Lurisorol. Milkkeeper." "Milkkeeper?" He glanced at the glowing beetles. "Those things make milk." "They do," she said. "Their milk heals. It feeds worlds. It pays debts. It also spoils if I fall behind." She nodded toward the other domes. "Storms cut the relay. The comm tower will not return for 10 days. The nearest port is 2 weeks by foot. You picked a lonely moon to fall on." Jace followed the line of domes with his eyes. He heard the hum again. Soft. Steady. It felt like a heartbeat under the ground. "I can help while I'm stuck," he said. "I grew up on a farm. Not this kind, but animals are animals." Most people, Lura knew, feared the beetles. They were too large. Too strange. They hummed and glowed and clicked their mandibles when unhappy. But this human did not step back. He stepped closer to the problem. She watched the way he stood. Stable. Balanced. Ready to move, not to run. Her speckles brightened a shade. "What payment do humans take?" she asked. "I have credits. I have shelter. I cook well enough." "Shelter and food," Jace said. "And a chance to call for rescue when the tower wakes. That's enough." Lura thought. Every hour mattered. Every dome had schedules, and queens grew irritable if late. She needed hands she could trust. She had no time to search for the perfect answer. She had only time to choose. She planted the staff in the earth and nodded once. "Then help," she said. "But listen first." She led him to a side hatch. It opened with a sigh. Warm, sweet air washed over them. Inside, the light was gentle. The ground was clean and slightly springy. A single queen beetle rested under a low arch, her shell a deep green with rivers of color running through it. Other workers moved along the walls like slow, living stones. Lura showed the tools. Soft gloves. Smooth cups. Thin tubes. A board with patient marks and times. "Pressure is everything," she said. "Too much hurts. Too little gives nothing. Touch is language. They feel it." Jace watched her hands. They were short and kind. She pressed, rolled, and lifted in a steady rhythm. The hum changed. It rose and warmed. Pearly liquid flowed through a tube into a sealed vessel. Lyra's speckles brightened. Good, she told the queen. Yes, good. She stepped back. Now you. Jace washed his hands. He breathed out. He matched the same points with his fingers. He did not rush. He let the rhythm find him. He felt a small shift under shell and muscle, like a switch flipping. The hum bloomed. Milk ran. The queen clicked once, not in warning, but in approval. Lyra's eyes widened. You learn fast, she said. Hands remember, Jace said softly. Cows, goats, machines. This is new, but not new. Outside, the 3 moons climbed a little higher. Wind slid over the dome and made a distant, hollow sound. Jace looked up at the curved ceiling, then at Lyra. For a moment, he forgot the broken ship, the crushed beacon, the empty horizon. Here, there was work. There was a problem he could solve. There was a person who needed help. Lyra studied him 1 heartbeat longer, then gave a small, sure nod. We start at dawn, she said. There are many domes. And a lot of milk, he said. And one more thing, she added, eyes turning toward the far fields, where a sleek shape flickered and was gone, like a shadow on water. Not every neighbor is kind. The hum dipped. The queen shifted. Somewhere outside, a distant engine whispered and fell quiet. Jace's jaw set. Then we prepare, he said. Lyra's speckles glowed like tiny stars. Yes, she said. We prepare. The morning began with twin suns rising over violet grass. The air shimmered gold and lavender, warm but thin. Jace stood beside Lyra near a dome taller than a city block, watching the light slide across its curved glass. The hum inside the structure pulsed like a heartbeat. Every few seconds, something chittered softly, deep and slow, like a purr from a mountain-sized animal. This one houses the queens, Lyra said, adjusting her glove seals. We start here. Jace followed her through a side hatch. The air inside was heavy, sweet, and full of movement. The great beetles shifted lazily, each shell glowing faintly. They smelled faintly of citrus and metal. One of them turned a huge, faceted eye toward Jace and released a low note that vibrated through his chest. They know you're new, Lyra said. They sense touch before they see. I'll keep my manners, Jace muttered. He swallowed hard and smiled anyway. Lyra began her work, steady, deliberate. Her 4-fingered hands moved across the smooth underplates of the creature, pressing in exact spots that released shimmering streams of milk into clear tubes. It was almost musical, the rhythm of her hands and the hum of the queen. She moved like someone who'd done this since childhood. When it was Jace's turn, he hesitated. The queen's size was overwhelming, her shell taller than he was. Lyra gave him a quiet look. You're stronger than you seem, she said. But be gentle. Firmness without cruelty is the secret. Jace crouched beside the beetle, imitating her movements. The first few tries earned him an annoyed click, then a startled huff as he found the right rhythm. The flow began. Smooth. Steady. The beetle relaxed. Lyra blinked, impressed. You learn fast. Hands remember, he said again. Cows, goats, machines. Doesn't matter what world you're on, everything likes the right touch. She almost smiled but hid it quickly. Her speckles flickered once, betraying her amusement. Hours passed like that, moving from dome to dome, working side by side. The hum of the beetles became a strange music that blended with their breathing. The work was exhausting, but Jace found it strangely calming. Every small success, every purr from a content creature, felt like victory. When noon came, they sat by the dome entrance eating pale orange fruit that tasted of honey and wind. Jace looked across the horizon. He noticed something new, a thin shimmer above the far fields, like heat haze but colder, metallic. What's that? He asked. Lyra followed his gaze. Her speckles dimmed. A patrol craft. Too sleek for farmers. Likely Krell's men. The neighbor you mentioned? Jace asked. Neighbor only by distance. She wiped her hands, her tone careful. Krell Varun owns the largest farm in this sector. He calls himself an innovator. He's a thief wrapped in charm. Jace leaned back. He's watching you? He watches everyone who stands between him and profit, she said. He offered to buy my farm once. I refused. And now your comms are conveniently down, Jace guessed. Lyra gave him a sharp look, part surprise, part respect. You're observant. Old habit, Jace said. In the service, We called that a soft siege. Break communication, isolate the target, make the takeover look natural. Lyra's jaw tightened. He can't have this place. These creatures, my work, it's all I have. Jace looked at her, at the stubborn line of her shoulders, at the tired strength in her voice. Then he won't get it, he said simply. They went back to work through the afternoon, but the peace had changed. The air felt heavier. Drones buzzed faintly at the edge of hearing. Once, Jace spotted a small shimmer darting between the stalks of violet grass, a surveillance sphere no larger than a fist. He smashed it with a quick swing of his milking rod before it could flee. By sunset, Lyra looked both grateful and worried. You shouldn't have done that, she said quietly. He'll notice the signal loss. Good, Jace said. Let him know someone here isn't scared. That night, they sat outside the farmhouse under 3 moons. The domes glowed faintly in the dark, each one alive with gentle hums. Lyra poured 2 cups of beetle milk, faintly luminous and sweet like nectar. Humans really drink this? Jace asked. Not many, she said with a smile. It tastes strange to your kind. He took a sip anyway and raised a brow. Strange, he said. But good. Lyra looked toward the dark horizon where Krell's land lay hidden in the shadows. He'll come soon, she murmured. He always does when he smells weakness. Then he'll find something else, Jace said. A farm that fights back. Lyra turned to him. For the first time, her speckles brightened to a full soft glow, like constellations pulsing under her skin. Maybe, she said. Maybe this time he will. Behind them, the beetles hummed in unison, a deep, steady sound that rolled across the fields like a warning. And in that sound, Jace Rowan heard something old, something human. A promise that he wasn't done fighting yet. The third sunrise came quiet and golden. The fields glowed with dew like tiny stars scattered across the purple grass. Jace woke early, already used to the rhythm of this strange moon. The air smelled clean, and the domes ahead shimmered with light from inside. He walked toward the eastern enclosure, carrying new tools Lyra had trusted him with. His steps were steady, calm. He almost felt peace again, until he saw her running toward him. Jace! Her voice broke the still morning calm. Lyra's silver hair streamed behind her as she sprinted across the field. Her face, usually calm and bright, was tight with fear. It's the beetles, she said breathlessly. Something's wrong. They rushed into the dome. The hum inside was wrong. Too sharp. Too fast. Dozens of beetles twitched and rolled on their sides, their shells dull and lifeless. One queen gave a weak, broken click that echoed off the walls. Jace crouched beside her and pressed a hand to the shell. It was cold. Lyra knelt across from him. They were fine yesterday, she whispered. All of them. Jace's training woke up inside him. The sharp, ordered thinking that never left soldiers, even years after war. He studied the scene like a field operation. The milk tubes were intact. Air filters clean. No sign of damage. He peeled back one of the beetle's underplates and froze. Lyra, he said slowly. Look. Tiny, wriggling shapes moved beneath the membrane. Thin as threads, glowing faintly green. Parasites. Dozens of them. Lyra covered her mouth. That's impossible. This species is immune to internal parasites. Unless someone helped them along, Jace said darkly. He took a closer look. The larvae were all the same size, same stage. This wasn't natural. These were introduced. Artificially. Her speckles dimmed to a deep blue-gray. You think Krell. I don't think. I know. He stood and walked in slow circles, eyes scanning for other clues. Near the hatch, he found a small shard of black casing buried in the soil, a tiny mechanical piece no larger than a nail. He held it up. Delivery capsule. Someone planted the infection from the outside. Lyra's shoulders sagged. If the infection spreads, we'll lose the herd. Even if they survive, the milk will be poisoned. We're not losing anything, Jace said, voice steady. Not while I'm here. She looked up at him, uncertain. You think you can cure them? He knelt beside her again, speaking gently. Earth insects get parasites too. I studied them once, before I joined the fleet. The patterns are similar. I might not know your exact biology, but I know how to think like a parasite. For the first time since she'd found him, she smiled. Small, weak, but real. Then think fast. They spent the day in her study, surrounded by holographic books and old manuals. Lyra scrolled through Stellarian biology charts. and Jace scribbled diagrams over her datapads. His fingers moved fast, sketching equations and arrows. The milk has a specific chemical signature, rich in glycoproteins. That's what they're feeding on. If we can mimic it but alter the pH, just enough to burn them out without hurting the host. Lura blinked at the screen, following his notes. A decoy mixture. He nodded. Exactly. We make the parasites chase fake milk, then kill them from inside. She hesitated. That kind of experiment could backfire. So could doing nothing, he replied. Hours passed. They mixed compounds, tested ratios. The farmhouse filled with the faint tang of chemicals and the soft buzz of cooling units. When they finally poured the first test batch, Jace's hands trembled, not with fear, but exhaustion. They returned to the dome under 3 moons. The beetles were weaker now. Time was short. Jace knelt by the sickest queen and slowly injected the compound into the gland chamber. He held his breath. For a moment, nothing. Then the queen's shell pulsed with a dull light. A shiver ran through her massive body, and the parasites began to writhe, glow brighter, and then dissolve into clear liquid. The queen exhaled a long, low note that made the dome vibrate. It's working, Lura whispered. By the stars, it's working. Relief washed through Jace's chest like fire and air at once. We'll treat the others. One at a time. Stay calm. They worked all through the night. By dawn, half the dome was stable again. Lura slumped beside him on the floor, eyes glimmering with tired joy. You saved them, she said softly. He smiled faintly, wiping sweat from his brow. No, he said. We saved them. Her hand touched his wrist, lingering. The faint blue glow of her speckles spread to her fingertips, warm and soft like light through water. You could have waited for rescue, she murmured. You could have walked away. Yeah, he said, meeting her gaze. But that's not how humans work. Outside, the first sun rose over the domes. The purple grass bent in the wind, whispering through the fields. And far away, unseen, a single black drone drifted higher into the sky, its red sensor blinking once before vanishing into the clouds. The battle had just begun. The next few days passed in a blur of work and restless sleep. The smell of medicine and beetle milk clung to everything. Their clothes, their hair, even the air itself. Jace and Lura moved between domes like ghosts, treating one queen after another. Slowly, the farm began to breathe again. The hum returned to its calm rhythm, low and steady like the heartbeat of the moon itself. But victory never came without a price. On the 4th night, as they finished the final treatment, Jace noticed a shimmer beyond the glass wall, a flicker of silver that vanished when he turned. He said nothing. Not yet. By dawn, the last infected beetle was cured. Lura stood beside him, her speckles glowing with faint gold light. You did it, she said softly. Jace shook his head. We did it. But I don't think Krell will take this loss quietly. They walked back to the farmhouse. The first sun rose, bathing the violet fields in firelight. Lura looked peaceful for the first time since the crash. Perhaps he'll think we gave up, she said. Jace didn't answer. He was watching the sky, and he saw it again. The same shimmer, higher this time, circling once before disappearing into the clouds. Later that day, while Lura checked on the recovered queens, Jace sat at her data console, pulling up local surveillance logs. It took only minutes to find what he feared, signal echoes from foreign drones sweeping across the sector. He traced them back, linking coordinates one by one until the pattern appeared on the map. 5 farms, all small, all privately owned, and all recently hit by mysterious accidents. Lura entered quietly behind him. You found something. Not just something. He turned the screen toward her. A pattern. The map glowed in pale blue light. Her farm marked the center, with 4 others forming a rough circle around it. Classic encirclement, Jace said. Back home, we used this to cut off an enemy before a siege. Krell's been doing it here, 1 farm at a time. Infect, sabotage, force a sale. Clean, silent, legal on paper. Lura's voice trembled. He's been doing this to others? Yes. And you were supposed to be the last piece. Her hands clenched. Marin, Drav, the hen pair, they all lost crops last year. None could prove anything. Then it's time we give them proof, Jace said. And a plan. They sent coded calls through the dormant comm relays, using the short-range emergency bands Lura's people used only in crisis. By evening, Lights appeared on the horizon, hover transports gliding low to avoid attention. For sets of headlights carved lines across the purple fields toward the farmhouse. Inside, Jace cleared the main table and spread out his notes. Lura greeted the arrivals. Marin Tull, a broad-shouldered farmer with scars down one arm. Drav Pellin, thin and cautious with eyes like steel. And Hen and Keela, a mated pair whose synchronized speech made them seem almost like one being. Marin's first words cut the silence. "You're the human Krell keeps talking about." Jace grinned faintly. "Good. That means he's nervous." Drav frowned. "You called us here for a reason. Speak." Jace tapped the holographic map. "All your farms, all your disasters, they form a pattern. This isn't bad luck. It's design. Krell's trying to corner the entire beetle milk trade in this sector." Keela crossed her arms. "We've suspected that for months. But suspicion doesn't stop him." "No," Jace said. "But proof will." He held up a small container filled with preserved parasites. "These came from your farms too, whether you knew it or not. Artificial organisms. Identical DNA sequences. Manufactured, not evolved. If we present them together, the Agricultural Authority will have no choice but to act." Lura stepped forward. "Jace thinks we can do more than report him. We can catch him." Marin raised a brow. "Catch him how?" "By giving him what he wants most," Jace said. "A reason to come here himself." He projected a hologram of a shimmering beetle, brilliant, rainbow-hued, with crystal-like veins under its shell. "A prismatic queen," he said. "Supposedly the rarest strain in the galaxy. 1 liter of her milk can fund an entire colony. I can fake one convincingly enough to fool Krell's sensors." Hen whistled. "You're insane." "Probably," Jace said. "But it'll work. We leaked the rumor that Lura's been hiding a maturing prismatic queen from a crashed research transport. Krell will hear it. He won't try to buy it. He'll come to steal it, because that's what people like him do when their pride is bruised." Lura's gaze flickered to him. "And when he comes?" Jace's expression hardened. "Then we record everything. We call in the authority, and we end this game for good." The farmers looked at each other, silent for a long moment. Then Marin nodded. "I've got contacts who can spread your rumor fast." Drav leaned forward. "And I can modify your surveillance net to look broken. He'll think he's invisible." "Hen and I will monitor the signal feeds," Keela added. "If he sends drones again, we'll see them coming." Jace smiled. "Perfect. Everyone gets a role. Everyone wins." When the meeting ended, and the farmers left to prepare, the farmhouse fell quiet again. Lura stood by the window, looking at the dark sky. "You think he'll take the bait?" Jace joined her, folding his arms. "He'll come. Men like Krell can't resist a prize they think belongs to someone else." For a while, they stood in silence, the soft hum of the beetles echoing from the domes. Finally, Lura said, "You've fought before. Not just battles. Wars." He glanced at her, surprised. "What gave it away?" "The way you talk about patterns," she said softly. "The way you look at danger like an old friend." Jace smiled faintly. "Old friend? Maybe. But I've learned one thing. Wars don't end until someone chooses to stop running." She turned to him then, eyes catching the moonlight. "And are you done running?" He met her gaze. "I think I just found something worth staying for." Outside, the 3 moons rose high. The domes shimmered like giant lanterns. Far beyond the fields, in a sleek tower of glass and chrome, Krell Varun smiled as his assistant delivered a coded message. "Rumor confirmed. A prismatic queen has been sighted." Krell leaned back, eyes cold and sharp. "Then it's time we pay our dear neighbor a visit." Night returned to the lavender world like liquid glass. The moons hung low, and a slow wind swept through the violet fields, carrying the scent of beetle nectar and ozone. Inside the farmhouse, a single lamp burned over the table where Jace Rowan worked in silence. The holographic schematics floating before him shimmered with shifting colors: green, silver, gold. A prismatic queen, the rarest of all beetle strains. Beautiful, mythical, and completely fake. He leaned closer, adjusting the projection with a fingertip. The creature's iridescent shell flickered between hues of blue and crimson as he rotated the model. Across the table, Lura Sorrel watched him, her speckles dimmed to thoughtful gray. "You really think he'll fall for this?" she asked. "Oh, he'll fall," Jace replied, his voice calm and sure. "Pride makes the smartest people stupid, and Krell's ego could power a city." He pressed a switch. A small compartment in the corner of the room slid open, revealing a container salvaged from his crashed skiff, cracked but functional. Inside, the half-destroyed components of his emergency drone glimmered faintly. Lyra frowned. "That's from your ship." "Yeah," Jace said. "Its shell alloys still respond to light frequency modulation. If I embed them under a thin layer of bioglass, the fake queen's shell will shift colors exactly like the real thing." She tilted her head, impressed despite herself. "Humans are inventive." He grinned. "We call it making do with what's left after everything explodes." For hours, they worked together. The farmhouse became a workshop of strange sounds, welding arcs, low hums, and the soft clatter of Lyra's tools. Lyra shaped the model's carapace using secretions from the real beetles, hardened and polished to perfection. Jace built the internal core, the mimicry circuits, heat diffusers, and faint pulse emitters that would fool even advanced sensors. By the time dawn crept over the fields, a small creature rested on the table, a sculpture of shimmering life. Its body glowed in waves of blue, violet, and gold. Every motion of light made it seem as if the thing were breathing. Lyra's voice dropped to a whisper. "It's beautiful. It's bait," Jace said, covering it carefully with a cloth. She met his eyes. Sometimes beauty works best as a trap. The plan unfolded in perfect rhythm. That morning, Marin carried the first rumor to a supply broker with a tongue looser than his security code. Drav leaked accidental scans showing strange energy patterns in Lyra's eastern domes. Hen and Keela sent encrypted messages disguised as trade reports to the black market channels Krell trusted. Within a day, the whispers spread like static through the sector. A human engineer had crash-landed on Lyra Sorrel's farm with a rare queen larva meant for the Proxima research colonies. A fortune hidden on a forgotten moon. Lyra walked the perimeter that night, her silver hair lifting in the cold wind. Jace joined her, a datapad in hand, watching their surveillance feeds. "2 drones already passed by," he said. "Krell's people are confirming the story." Lyra's eyes tracked the horizon. "He'll come himself. He always does when there's glory to steal. Then we'll make sure his entrance is unforgettable." They stopped near Dome 3, the structure now redesigned to host the false queen. Hidden cameras lined the walls. Silent motion sensors blinked faintly in standby mode. The fake security grid projected gaps, obvious enough to tempt an intruder. Jace checked the readings one last time. "Blind spots are open. Recording systems are running. Authority enforcement ships are in low orbit, waiting for my signal." Lyra nodded. "It's strange," she murmured. "You speak like a soldier again." He paused. "Old habits. But this isn't a war." "Isn't it?" she said quietly. "He destroys lives. He poisons creatures that can't defend themselves. If that isn't war, what is?" He didn't answer. He didn't need to. Hours later, as the moons aligned, a cold stillness fell over the fields. The beetles hummed uneasily inside their domes. The sky above shimmered, faint ripples in the air, invisible to the untrained eye. Jace crouched beside Lyra on the observation platform, watching the screens. "There," he whispered. A sleek craft descended in near silence, its hull blending with the shadows. 3 figures stepped out, their forms wrapped in cloaking mesh that bent the moonlight around them. One was taller than the rest, his movements smooth and arrogant. "Krell Varun," Lyra breathed, hatred lacing every syllable. "Showtime," Jace said. Through the monitors, they watched Krell's team glide across the field toward Dome 3. They bypassed the decoy barriers exactly as Jace had designed. Inside, the fake queen shimmered under soft biolight, an impossible treasure waiting to be stolen. Krell approached her like a priest before a holy relic. "Magnificent," he whispered, his voice captured by the hidden mics. "She is real. Almost real," Jace murmured to himself, smiling faintly. The thieves began preparing the containment field. The moment the fake queen touched the magnetic cradle, the dome lights blazed white. Sirens screamed. Krell spun, shouting orders. Too late. The farm came alive. Farmers from across the co-op stepped from the shadows, stun rifles drawn. Lyra's voice filled the dome's speakers, calm and sharp. "Krell Varun, you are caught committing biological sabotage and theft under the Agricultural Protection Act." The hidden cameras streamed the scene to the authority ships waiting above. Krell's expression hardened. "You think this will hold me? We don't have to hold you." Jace's voice came through the speaker. "We just have to show you." Authority beacons split the sky, bathing the field in silver light. The enforcement unit descended fast, surrounding the dome. But Krell wasn't finished. He reached into his coat and drew a weapon small as his palm, the muzzle glowing green. He grabbed Lura's nearest worker by the throat, pulling him close. "No one moves," he hissed. Jace felt the blood drain from his face. "Lura, I'm here," she said through clenched teeth, her voice steady though her eyes burned. Jace's mind raced. The dome's structure, the Queen's platform, the emergency panels. He saw every angle in an instant. "Get him close to the east wall," he whispered into the mic. "Trust me." Lura stepped forward. "Krell, you'll never make it out of here alive. Let him go." "Silence," Krell shouted, dragging the worker backward. She moved slowly, her glowing speckles flickering like faint starlight. "You came for milk," she said. "Let me show you how we protect it." Jace hit the control switch. The dome's east wall split open, releasing the scent of dozens of stirred beetles, their queen's distress hum echoing across the night. Krell turned in panic just as the first massive beetle moved, its legs pounding the floor, its shell shining like fire. "Emergency release," Jace said into the comm. "Time to end this." The creatures swarmed forward, and Krell Varun's trap turned against him. The dome exploded into motion. The air vibrated with the thunder of wings and the deep, resonant hum of beetles answering their queen's call. Light fractured across the glass walls as the enormous creatures surged forward, their iridescent shells flashing like living storms. Krell Varun stumbled backward, dragging his hostage with him, eyes wide as the insects closed in. "Call them off," he shouted, his polished arrogance cracking into fear. "Do it, or this one dies." From her hidden post, Lura Sorrel stood calm, hands clenched at her sides. "You poisoned them," she said, her voice cold and steady. "You made them suffer for profit. You think they'll listen to you?" Krell raised his weapon toward her, glowing green. "Then you'll die with them." Before he could fire, Jace Rowan burst through the east hatch. He moved fast, years of combat instinct roaring back to life. The world slowed around him, Krell's weapon rising, the shimmer of its charged core, the panicked chitter of the swarm. Jace dived, hitting the ground in a roll that sent sparks flying from his boots. The plasma bolt seared past his head and melted a groove in the floor. "Krell," he shouted, coming up in a crouch, hands empty but eyes burning. "This ends now." Krell sneered. "You? A stranded mechanic thinks he can stop me?" Jace took a slow step forward. "No, a human can." He slapped the emergency control on his wrist pad. The dome's lighting flickered, shifting to a red hue. Lura gasped. "Jace, what are you?" "Trust me," he said, voice steady. The red frequency light triggered the beetle's defensive trance. For a split second, the swarm froze, antennae twitching, muscles coiled. Then they turned, not toward Jace or Lura, but toward the one being whose scent screamed predator. Krell Varun. The creatures surged. Krell fired wildly, bolts scattering harmlessly against their thick shells. His hostages ducked and fled. One beetle knocked the weapon from his hand. Another pinned him with a leg thicker than a man's torso. He screamed as the swarm surrounded him, not harming, only trapping. Their collective hum deepened, vibrating the ground. "Get them back," Lura cried. "They'll crush him." "They won't," Jace said. "They're intelligent. They know the difference between prey and punishment." Still, he moved forward, pushing through the mass of living armor. The beetles parted just enough to let him through, as if recognizing his voice. He grabbed Krell by the collar and hauled him upright. "You wanted their milk," he said quietly. "Now you get to see what protects it." Krell trembled. You don't understand. The board, there are investors." Jace hit his comm switch. "Authority now? We've got your thief gift wrapped." The reply crackled through instantly. "Acknowledged. Enforcement inbound." Through the shattered dome roof, beams of silver light streaked downward. The Interstellar Agricultural Authority ships broke the clouds like falling stars, surrounding the farm in a wide ring. Troopers in gleaming armor swept inside, weapons raised. "Stand down," one shouted. Jace stepped back, hands up. "He's yours," he said, nodding toward Krell. The officers moved in fast, binding Krell's wrists in energy cuffs. One of them paused, glancing at the enormous beetles looming nearby. "You kept control of that?" he asked, awe edging his voice. Jace smiled faintly. No one controls them. We just earn their trust. Lura moved beside him, breathing hard, her speckles glowing faint gold in relief. The beetle's hum softened, lowering into a calm rhythm once more. One massive queen even bowed her head slightly toward her caretaker before retreating into the deeper dome shadows. Krell, cuffed and shaking, spat on the floor. You think this changes anything? You're nothing. One human, one milkmaid, on a forgotten moon. You can't stop commerce. Jace crouched beside him, voice quiet but cutting like steel. No, he said, but I can stop you. And every greedy parasite like you who thinks life is just another resource to drain. The Authority commander stepped forward. Mr. Rowan, she said, your evidence was transmitted live to our orbiting station. Your recording is enough to shut down Vern Industries across 3 systems. You've done the galaxy a service. Jace blinked, just doing what needed to be done. The commander's tone softened. You also handled that swarm like someone who understands alien biology better than most specialists. We could use minds like yours. Lura glanced at him quickly. Her speckles brightened. He has a home here, she said. The commander smiled. Then perhaps both of you will accept an official partnership. The Authority needs local consultants. We'll formalize everything after we clean up the mess. As the enforcement ships lifted off, carrying Krell and his accomplices away, the dawn broke over the farm. The domes gleamed in the new light. The smell of ozone and fresh soil replaced the stench of fear. Jace stood silently for a moment, watching the horizon. Lura came up beside him, brushing a smear of dust from his cheek. You risked everything, she said softly. You could have been killed. He turned to her, a tired smile spreading across his face. Would have been worth it. Someone had to show him what humans are capable of. She met his gaze, the faint glow of her speckles reflecting in his blue eyes. And what are humans capable of, Jace Rowan? He took her hand. Adaptation, persistence, and a little bit of crazy. Lura laughed quietly, resting her head on his shoulder. Then maybe that's exactly what this moon needs. Overhead, the beetle's low hum returned, peaceful this time, almost like a song. The dawn wind carried it through the purple fields, across the repaired domes, and into the stillness that followed battle. For the first time in a long while, Jace didn't feel lost among the stars. He felt home. But high above them, far beyond the atmosphere, a single Authority ship broke formation, its beacon blinking in unusual rhythm before vanishing into hyperspace. In its hold, a sealed container vibrated faintly, the one Krell's men had loaded before capture. Inside it, something alive began to stir. 6 months later, dawn touched the lavender plains of Stellara 9 with a quiet kind of glory. The beetle domes shimmered like crystal seas beneath the triple moons, and the hum that once carried fear now sang of growth. The war for the farm had become a story that spread far beyond this forgotten moon. Where Krell Vern's empire had crumbled, Harmony Fields had risen. Jace Rowan stood on the platform above Dome 1, his hands resting on a metal railing polished smooth by months of work. Below him, the beetles moved in lazy circles, their shells reflecting light in hundreds of colors. The domes had been rebuilt larger, stronger, powered by hybrid tech he designed, half human engineering, half Stellarian biology. Every pulse of light across the walls meant healthy creatures, clean harvests, and peace. He smiled faintly. You've done well, Lura, he said without turning. Behind him, Lura Sorrel walked up the platform steps, her boots soft against the metal. Her speckles glowed in the morning light, pulsing gently with pride. We've done well, she corrected, resting a hand on his shoulder. You made harmony possible. He chuckled. You gave it a soul. Together they watched the sunrise wash the domes in gold. The world felt alive again. The Authority had cleared the last of Krell's factories and banned his company from interstellar trade. The co-op they'd formed, the Stellarian Agricultural Alliance, was now thriving under Lura's guidance. And Jace, the stranded human, had become something between legend and myth among Outer Rim farmers. Still, something inside him never stopped scanning the horizon. Waiting for the next storm? Lura asked quietly. He glanced at her, a small smile tugging at his lips. Maybe. Old soldiers never believe in peace for long. She laughed softly, leaning against him. Then maybe it's time you start believing. There's more to life than war, Jace. He turned to her, eyes bright. Yeah, there's you. Her glow deepened, rippling down her neck and arms. Careful, she said, teasing gently. You'll make a Stellarian blush. He grinned. That's the goal. They stood in silence, the breeze playing through the grass, until a sudden chirp echoed from Jace's wrist console. He frowned and tapped it. The holographic display flickered, an encoded transmission bearing the seal of the Interstellar Agricultural Authority. From orbit? Lyra asked, voice wary. From beyond, Jace said, scanning the data stream. Encrypted priority code. He played the message aloud. Authority Relay 7A, to Consultant Rowan. Unusual activity detected on Outpost D-19, Sector Phi Delta. Beetle species mutation recorded. Symptoms identical to previous Varan parasite strain, only evolved. Directive, immediate analysis requested. The message ended, leaving a faint static hum in the air. Lyra's glow dimmed. That can't be possible. Krell's parasites were destroyed. Destroyed here, Jace said grimly. But maybe not everywhere. She met his eyes. Then this piece was only the beginning. He nodded slowly. And now we know what we're fighting for, not just what we're fighting against. Lyra looked out over the fields. If you go, she said, I'm coming with you. He hesitated. You don't have to. I do, she said firmly. Those creatures out there, they're my kin as much as yours. And besides, she took his hand, her cool skin glowing brighter where it met his warmth. Someone has to keep you from doing something reckless. He smiled at that, squeezing her fingers. You've got your work cut out for you, Milkkeeper. They walked together toward the landing pad where a new hybrid shuttle waited, a design that bore both their signatures, human steel and Stellarian elegance. The wind picked up, carrying the faint scent of pollen and the hum of content beetles across the plains. Before boarding, Jace turned to look one last time at Harmony Fields. You know, he said softly, when I crashed here, I thought I was done. But this place, it gave me a reason to start over. And now, Lyra said, stepping beside him, you'll give others the same. He smiled, the reflection of the moons in his eyes. Let's go find what's stirring out there. As the engines roared to life, the shuttle lifted from the soil, scattering the grass below in spirals of violet dust. The domes glowed faintly, as if watching them rise. From space, Harmony Fields looked like a constellation, 7 shining domes, perfectly aligned, pulsing gently in the darkness like a heartbeat. And somewhere, far beyond the stars, a faint new signal answered back. Unknown source detected. Transmission, we remember Varun. Jace's jaw tightened. Looks like humanity's not the only one that learns from its mistakes. Lyra's hand found his. Then we'll teach the galaxy what else humanity can do. He looked at her, then at the stars ahead, and smiled. Lesson 1, he said. Never bet against the human spirit. The shuttle leapt forward, vanishing into the silver light of dawn. And below, on the violet plains of Stellara 9, the beetles hummed a low, peaceful song, an anthem for 2 worlds that had finally learned to survive together.